scripted president throwing his arms up around the firefighter in New York, talking into a bullhorn. The president speaking off the cuff is what this administration believes is his best venue. Many here, though, privately taken aback by the frontier justice, if you will, of the President of the United States saying wanted, dead or alive.
He is a Texan. John, thanks. John King, our senior White House correspondent. As you watch the crawl of stocks going by, it is the airlines that are being hit the hardest. Leo Mullen is the Chief Executive Officer of Delta Airlines, and he joins us now from Atlanta. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How bad is it for the industry right now? Are people calling in droves, canceling flights? Anyone really getting on airplanes today?
Well, we have had considerable patronage. We were actually reasonably pleased over the weekend that we were carrying on both Saturday and Sunday about 140,000 passengers each day. Now that compares to an average Delta passenger load of 300,000 a day, so about half. But clearly, as those numbers would represent, the American public is beginning to fly, and from that standpoint, that's a good sign.
The industry is working very hard in Washington to try and get some direct aid. The House was dealing with $2.5 billion in direct aid, another, I think, $12 billion in loan guarantees. The message here is that the industry is in considerable jeopardy, that some airlines are going to collapse. Fair?
There is tremendous financial stress in the airline industry right now. Just last week, as you would know, we had almost 4 days with no revenue at all. And the general expectation after a crisis of this magnitude is that there will be a considerable period of time where revenues will run way less than they would have otherwise. And given the heavy fixed cost nature of this, with great capital investments for airplanes and terminals and other fixed equipment, if you have even minor changes in revenue, it can create enormous changes in cash flow. These are beyond minor. These are about as massive changes as it could get. And so it is going to affect all airlines throughout the United States in a very, very significant way. Now, from our standpoint, certainly the administration and the Congress, we feel, have been very responsive to this. I think, generally speaking, that there is a feeling in Washington that they wouldn't want the airline industry to be the first economic casualty of this war. And so, as a result, we have received enormous encouragement with respect to the program that is being developed, has been developed over the weekend, will be presented to the administration officials tomorrow, and I believe be very quickly the subject of hearings in the Congress.
Continental has announced layoffs. Continental's announced flight reductions. You've announced some trimming of flights. Do you expect to be laying off people?
Well, we would hope to certainly minimize that as we move forward, and that really depends on the outcome of these discussions that we have in Washington. Quite clearly, if business stays down for a significant period of time, then employee reductions would have to be definitely considered, as some airlines have already announced. On the other hand, we have new requirements that have been asked of us associated with the added security. We are fully on board as the airline industry with these security arrangements. We have participated extensively in helping develop them in conjunction with the government. And and Delta, we support these very, very strongly. But they do, in fact, require additional manpower. And so with the customer service requirements and the manpower implications of the increased security, we have to be very careful to balance the requirements to achieve that with the necessity that we will have to reduce employment if, in fact, support were not appropriately provided by the government. But as I say, I'm cautiously optimistic with respect to the discussions that are forthcoming with the government.
Back when the Gulf War buildup was going on, and after the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, airline travel dropped off at that point. This situation is obviously unique, but just looking back at the Gulf War situation, how long did it take for customers to be confident again that it was safe to fly?
Well, it took there was a month of a very, very substantial drop-off, and we would anticipate at least that amount of time, a month to 6 weeks, certainly for a tremendous drop-off from traffic from what it would be. And then it gradually builds up, and really it didn't reach the levels that it had prevailed prior to the Gulf War until almost a year afterwards. In this particular instance, we're into uncharted waters here. I don't think any of us can really predict exactly when it would come back, but certainly from the standpoint of the industry, we are expecting a lengthy amount of time before we get back to the levels that would have prevailed otherwise.
Mr. Mullen, thanks for joining us. Leo
Thank
Mullen,
you.
the Chief Executive Officer of Delta Airlines, joins us from Atlanta today. We'll check down on the streets of New York and around the country, CNN's continuing coverage of America's new war after a break.
Life is going to be difficult, but that's understandable. If security and safety are uppermost in our minds, and they are, then we're going to have to put up with inconveniences. Yes, we're going to have to get to the airport much, much earlier. We're going to have to be very suspicious and observant of anything that looks suspicious, whether it be a briefcase left by a curb, a package, things like that. We've got to become very, very aware of our surroundings because we have people in our midst who wish us ill.
Point. Shoot. Create. The HP Pavilion 7970 with the Intel Pentium 4 processor. How will you use it? Save up to $250 by mail on the HP Digital Photography Studio.
Introducing new Kellogg's Special K Red Berry cereal. Crunchy sweet flakes, now with slices of real strawberries, right in the box. Looking good, never tasted so great. Kellogg's Special K Red Berries. It's new.
Now's the best time to join America Online. Plug it in and you go. Because now you can try AOL and get our best offer ever. 1,000 hours of AOL free for 45 days. You don't need a credit card. Call 1-877-265-0200 to get everything AOL offers.
You've got mail.
I've got mail. I love when an instant message pops up.
Customer service is always there to help.
To get online in minutes plus 1,000 free hours, call 1-877-265-0200. Operators are standing by.
If we could do it, anyone can.
America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
Business.
E-business.
Sir Speedy Printing.
SirSpeedy.com.
Face-to-face.
Online interface.
Personal.
Productive.
Local.
Global.
Very human.
Very modern.
Easy.
Easy.
Sir Speedy.
Either way.
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton and New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani together walking their way through some of the damage area. The mayor and Mrs. Clinton, for that matter, have both been down there a number of times. There's New York Governor George Pataki as well. What they are seeing is a rescue effort that is still called a rescue effort, though it has been some days now since anyone has been pulled from the rubble of the World Trade Center alive. Gary Tuchman has been down there for most of the last week, and he joins us now. Gary, good afternoon.
Aaron, good afternoon to you. The New York Stock Exchange is only about 3 or 4 blocks away from here, but these areas are like 2 different worlds. Here, the public still isn't allowed. There are thousands of emergency workers and vehicles on the scene. The street is always clogged, and it's just emergency vehicles that are clogging it. And the scene is still very disturbing, very depressing, and frightening. Behind me, where the 110-story towers used to stand, that cauldron of smoke. And it's still smoky because fires continue to burn underneath the rubble. The search effort does continue. The bad news is nobody has been found alive since Wednesday morning, but officials are still holding out hope that it is a possibility. We talked with a remarkable man a short time ago, a firefighter by the name of Ken Haskell. He comes from a family of firefighters, 3 brothers. One of his brothers is missing. The other one has been found dead. Nevertheless, he continues to participate in the search.
Timmy's been found. He was found several days ago.
I was underneath Tower 1, a void of Tower 1 the day before yesterday when word had spread that they had found him, and some of the members from my company came and got me, and they told me that Timmy had been found, and I left, and they had sent a van to pick me up.
I think it's hard to imagine the horror he and his family are going through right now. One other anecdote to talk about how the landscape of New York has changed literally and figuratively for the people who live here. When you take a subway in New York City and you get out of the subway station, there are often 4 or 5 different exits to get out of. And when you get out of the subway, even if you know it well, and you go out of a different exit, you may not know what direction you're facing. By habit, many New Yorkers, when they get out of the subway, look up for the World Trade Center to know which way is south. And even I, who has been covering this story since the very beginning and knows full well what happened, when I got out of the subway to come here today, that's the first thing I did. I looked up for the World Trade Center. Aaron?
Gary, thank you. People may think it's a little bit silly, for lack of a better word, to at this stage of the game still be talking about pulling people out alive. What officials hope is that down beneath street level, the World Trade Center complex went several levels down, 6 or 7 levels down. There may be people alive. They're surviving on water from restaurants that were there and food from the restaurants. It's obviously no sure thing. It may not even be a strong possibility, but that's the hope, and hope is the business they're in right now, that they'll get somebody alive. The market has moved back down a bit since we last checked it. The NASDAQ, too, not since October of '98 has it looked this way. Jeff Locke is in Overland Park, Kansas, suburban Kansas City, at a Charles Schwab Center, and he joins us now. Jeff?
That's right, Aaron. We're trying to get to ground zero on this market and see what people out here in the real world are. As you know, we have been traveling this country trying to take a pulse, and today the pulse is somewhere around the market. Trying to get a sense from that from Kirby Webb as we travel here to Overland Park, Kansas. Tell me, what are you seeing? Are you seeing any panic selling today? Because this market is all the way down.
Well, you're right. The market is down today, but we're not seeing any panic selling. For the clients who have come in today, we've actually seen them opening new accounts and adding to their existing positions.
Mm-hmm. And what do you expect?
Well, we expect the same thing. Our advice to our clients is to maintain a long-term perspective and keep a diversified portfolio.
I want to go talk to at least one of the people who chose today to open an account, because we had talked earlier about people who kind of almost patriotically intended to get into the market today. This man is one of them. I see the red, white, and blue on you. And why did you? Was this self-interest today? Do you think this is a good buying opportunity or something else?
Well, living here in Kansas, there's not a whole lot I feel I can do as an individual as to show my support. So I thought this would be really a good opportunity to show my support, invest into the market, and I've opened up an SEP account for myself and my employees that work for me.
So this was something you were planning to do anyway, or you chose today specifically for this?
I've been thinking about it, and in light of all that's happened, I thought today would be a wonderful day to show my support.
And lastly, are you worried at all? You're looking at 600 points down here, or do you see that that's a good time to get in because you may get some bargains?
Well, I think both. I'm not really nervous. I'm not putting my last dollar into the stock market. I'm putting enough in there to be comfortable and to show my support.
Sir, I appreciate the time. Kirby, thank you. Also, we will, of course, continue to watch this here at the grassroots. As he said, no panic selling, at least in this office here in the middle of Kansas, but we'll keep listening. Aaron?
Well, it's not easy to hang on, and on a day like this, the market down 600 and almost 60 points, so it is admirable optimism. Jeff, thanks for your efforts. We have a special edition of Talkback Live with Bobby Batista coming up in just a moment, but first a break. CNN's continuing coverage of America's new war in a moment.
If you are seeking someone you believe to be missing from the attack on the World Trade Center or the Pentagon, log on to cnn.com/missing to submit a photograph and description. Please include your contact information.
The search for life and loved ones continues as President Bush promises victory against terrorism. For complete coverage, stay with CNN.
Medicare medication coverage.
Are you having difficulty using inhalers or mixing your breathing medications? Do you use Proventil or Albuterol, Atrovent, Combivent, or